stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The purpose of the public hearing is to increase from 3 to 5 our Board of Assessment Review. And we have to, in order to do that, we have to have a local law. So, anybody have any questions regarding that proposal?
What is the purpose of increasing the?
Well, our assessors and us, we felt that we're going through a reassessment in the next couple of years, and that it would be important to have a little more presence for our citizens to, if they want to talk about, or if they want to object to their assessments, to have more coverage. So, well, I used up 1 minute. Anybody have any questions? We have, should we kill 3 minutes? We don't want to start the other meeting early.
We can't start the meeting early, we can close the hearing.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Oh, you can close the hearing with motion.
We can't start the meeting.
Yeah, well, I'll give it a couple more minutes since we have all this time.
We never know, someone might straggle in. I think they just want to be heard.
Yeah. Hi, Brad. It was really nice place, isn't it?
Yeah, when did they open?
I guess just yesterday.
Okay, because
Really
last
nice.
Friday it was next door. And then
Oh,
today
yeah,
I went to go
yeah.
next door.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
all
it's
empty
really
out.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little loud when we were sitting. I think I was right by the kitchen. I had trouble hearing. Lots of I was getting a greeting card.
Yes, always.
I actually picked up a form for changing that. Signed me in.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were gonna come up.
I try to use the one on my computer, but I'm always just writing on the calendar on the wall.
Hi, Brad.
I have a photo of my deer on the snowstorm, and it was floating around that line, and it's Christy Steppick. So I put that out. Oh, I should ask.
Crystal is her name.
Okay, maybe she was. Christy, I saw. You know, you
Secure.
Yeah, that's my daughter's name.
Oh, yeah. And I'm meeting her electronically. And
Oh.
personally.
What, email or something?
Facebook. I don't know.
Oh, I have no idea what Facebook is. I just, it came through tonight. We got a hot mail.
Kara,
They
did
ran the whole
I
thing.
have to
I
go
lost
because I'm in on
all my
email.
addresses. I
About-
can't forward it.
So don't you want?
Hotmail combined with Outlook or something. I don't know. I'm ready to put
I had to go with my dad and move up that floor. Move all his addresses from Bell South.
I wish I just.
I guess we can close the
went
public
get
hearing.
longhand. At least I got nothing.
We've all out of questions.
I'll make sure to
Second
close
close.
the.
Okay, a motion to close the public hearing, seconded by Harold. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting's closed. I guess it's just 7 o'clock. Wow, what time is it? Okay, we can start our regular meeting. Hello, everybody. I guess we'll start with Tess.
Accept the minutes.
Oh, accept the minutes, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Cindy, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have no guests tonight. Tess, you're up.
Okay. My report is all about money. January receipts totaled $961.25 with $886.75 turned over to the supervisor. Of that, $600 was building fees and $242 was dog licenses. I don't know why we have so many dog licenses in January. Tax payments. January receipts totaled $2,434,486.31. To date, I've collected $3,433,054.62. I'd just like to note that I had $2 million in the bank in January, and I just turned over the month's interest to the supervisor for a total of $35.74. It used to be hundreds
Yeah.
that I would turn over. So anyway, that's my report.
Okay, thank you, Tess. Bill, how you doing? So you're up.
Bad, not too bad. Only 30 days left for spring. Everything is good on the highway department, all the equipment's back and running. We have one truck, a tonner, that is getting pretty humble. Two of them really, but we could get by with one, but we should look at replacing the one that's getting pretty humble.
This is one of the, this is the.
It's a 2003.
Small dumps.
Yeah, one of the small dumps. So we could buy, if we were to do something, we could buy it on state contract. The truck, the plow, the spreader, all the central hydraulics, the whole 9 yards, dump body, everything would run you around $60,632. And the ones we bought in 2011 were $58,000 and change. There's only like $1,100 difference. This has a couple of things added to it that weren't on the other one. But other than that, and I do believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe there's enough money in my fund balance to where we could afford this without raising taxes on the town people. And every year I give money back at the end of the year. We should be investing in some equipment, I would dare say. But that's totally up to the board, how they feel about it. It's got
Sounds great.
130-some
Any
thousand
comments
miles.
from the board, or?
How's your budget holding up for the winter?
That's winter and machinery are two.
Yeah.
But I mean, winter's winter, you can't stop
Right,
that.
yep.
It is coming out of his budget.
Can he bring specs and so forth to us and show us what?
You know what?
Can he bring forth some information about?
It's right here
what-
if you wanna read it.
Okay. We ought to get copies of that.
Okay.
That way we can look it over and we can discuss it further. Is that all right?
Okay,
We'll
that's
discuss
what
it.
you want somebody,
later.
so you want to take that in, we'll talk about it during the next.
Yeah, between here and the next meeting, see where we go. Is that all right? I mean, I think that's something to discuss anyhow.
Yeah.
Find out where we are. Good deal.
Any chance of selling the old truck for parts?
Junk,
anything?
pretty much?
Well, if you're gonna keep one, you might as well keep the other one for parts. Till you.
Oh, you
till
got two of 'em
till
that
you
are on
decide.
there.
But you're gonna have to do something, whether you do it today or you do it a month.
Yeah.
You just can't just dilly-dally. We gotta do
How,
something,
how,
that's all.
how long does it take to get those?
If you were to order one, it would take 12 weeks, and if he has one in stock right there, it would take 6. And I myself don't see the sense of sitting here discussing things, because it's cut and dry. That one's junk, and you gotta do something about it. We've been down this road time after time. It's not like this isn't a new episode in the highway department. They're 10 years old. 130,000 miles, they're used every day.
Yeah,
If the money is there to do this without raising their taxes, and it makes it easier for the highway department to keep doing their job, that's a no-brainer.
Billy, with this price,
That's a state contract.
I know.
You can't buy it no cheaper.
I'm not looking for that. What I'm asking is, I didn't get to read the specs here. Is that fully equipped, so you don't have to go out and buy any more equipment for it? It's
No.
ready to do
Take the
it?
plow off the one you got?
No, you have a brand new plow, brand new sander, oil central hydraulic, brand new dump, brand new, just like
Everything's-
the last one.
So you won't have, okay.
Just like the last one.
Yeah, I didn't
You
know.
bought one and we bought
Yeah,
one.
okay.
So,
And you can take it out of budget
so I can
surplus?
take it out of the fund balance, out of that, which is, I guess, the purpose of having that, to help yourself out.
I'll make a motion that we accept that proposal.
You ready to
I hear a
move on?
I'm
I'm not against moving on. I just wanna make sure
And
everything.
if it's coming
all
out
the-
of his
Everything's
fund,
there
then
that
taxes
has to
aren't
be
gonna
there.
raised or-
Thank you.
He's the one that has to pass judgment on it. He's the one that runs it.
All right, so we already have the funds for this, so it's
Thank
not a
you.
matter of.
Right, it's not a matter of approving the acquisition of funds or
Yeah, I mean, the truth, well, if this was, it was a little cheap, you could just buy it. You wouldn't even, I mean,
Exactly.
but it's over the, or it's over his, over his procurement policy.
Right.
So he's
we
asking us.
We don't have to bond it? We
No,
don't have to,
no,
don't
he's
have to
gonna buy
buy
it.
No.
and we got,
And the other one's coming off the road.
I'll take it off the road and I'll leave it there for parts until
To
next
fix the
year,
other
or
one.
next fall, we can buy another.
Okay, and
We'll just
and
keep-
you have parts maybe from that one to
Right.
help with it.
Right.
All right, I have no problem with that.
Okay, so we have a second yet?
No.
No.
second it?
Okay, Al, second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thank you very much, the whole highway department, thank you. Really. I mean, we've had a rough winter, what we saved last winter, I mean, it snows, these little snowstorms cost you more than 2 foot of snow.
Yeah.
It's been a hard winter on everything, trucks, equipment, you know, the whole 9 yards.
You have anything else, Bill,
Good.
in your
No,
report?
everything is good, if there's any questions anybody would like to ask,
That new, the
Bid
new
opening
equipment's
set,
working
you need
great.
to set a bid opening.
everything works.
You like it on the road?
State bid.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, if we didn't have that truck, when the other two broke down, it'd have been the end of the party, really.
I'd just like to add a little comment here to Bill's department. He had the front end of 2 major pieces of equipment break down,
3 of them at one time.
3 of them at one time, and we got some pretty good mechanics and some pretty good people up there to fix that in-house. And saves this town a lot of money doing that. So extend my appreciation to the guys in your department.
I most certainly will.
I think they do a wonderful job for the people in this
Yeah.
town.
They go out of their way,
Question
they
about
try.
it.
The equipment up there is well maintained. You won't find another fleet of highway equipments that is as well maintained as we have in the town of Delaware. I challenge anybody to take me up on that, and take Bill up on that.
Thank you.
Okay,
I
next,
think Ed Steve wants to ask a question.
Just wanted to ask, I think it was last summer when you were purchasing a new vehicle and switching to that brine.
Yeah,
How has that worked out?
that has worked out excellent. Matter of fact, when those 2 trucks, well, those 3 trucks were broke down, I think it was don't hold me, I think it was last Sunday, Monday it snowed, so last Sunday night Teddy and I went out and pre-treated the whole town. Willie Maxwell did this end with his little truck, because we set that up to do it too. And if we hadn't have done that, we'd have been in a lot of trouble, because when 3 trucks go down in 60 miles, boy, that really puts a hurt on them.
Is it working out better than the
It-
sand?
Yeah, it has made a big difference, and I believe it'll pay for itself very quickly.
Thank you.
If you take a ride and you look at our roads are fairly clean. Take a ride to some other towns and stuff, they're all mud. And that's the difference, you gotta go out and look. You can see the difference. When you go home, I bet you most people haven't washed their cars 6 or 8 times this winter compared to other years. Everybody was always hosing the mud off them. It does make a difference.
I try never to have to wash mine.
Smart man.
Hey, you take it down to the corner.
I don't know how to do it.
He just turns it.
You don't go anywhere.
I give the keys to my wife.
All right, let's stay on track here. Howard, you're up, building inspector,
All right.
you're up.
Not much to report. This is one of the slowest times of the year generally, and this one is keeping right in with tradition. A couple of permits out, but nothing major, although I have spoken to a few people who are interested in building homes this year and have brought the subject up to me, so hopeful. Other than that, there's no problems.
There's a new homes?
Yes,
Not just a-
yeah.
Good. Okay, Renee, you're up.
Okay, we've been very busy lately with exemptions. It's exemption time and they're all due by March 1st, that's the deadline. Our level of assessment for next year, we expect to be 67%. And hopefully that will also be our equalization rate. So that's up from 65%, which means that full market values have decreased slightly. Tomorrow night, we're going to have our second informational session regarding the reassessment. That'll be 7 p.m. here. And we hope more people can attend this time. We only had, really, aside from the town board, we had one person show up. So we really feel it's important for people to come and understand what we're doing. We do have a couple copies on DVD of the last meeting, and these are in our office. If anyone wants to sign out, they can borrow them. And it's also on YouTube, if anyone wants to watch it.
You can find it at the Community
Right.
Film Watch channel on YouTube.
Right. And lastly, I'd like to know, what is the status of the zoning map? Because I think that was getting final approval.
Yeah, well,
We,
yeah, you mean with the changes?
yes.
We have to
We
get
are
that
waiting for, you want to talk about that?
The UDC is meeting to approve, their committee meeting is on the 28th. And once they approve their end of it, then it'll probably come to the town board to set up a public hearing for the zoning change in the probably March meeting. And if there's not too much opposition, hopefully we'll be done with it in another month. So that's where it's at.
We have, that step with the UDC was necessary.
Okay.
Did they get the information that they needed this
Yeah,
time?
they have a committee meeting on the 28th. I don't know whether you or I have to attend that.
Well, I'll be down there anyhow. Yeah. For the 28th. That's our normal project review meeting.
Yeah, that's what they're
Yeah.
doing, their project review.
So all that paperwork is, since we had the last one, you
Yeah,
submitted
they
it
have-
and
they
and they're
have all
working
that
on it?
paperwork and,
All right, what about the Park Service? Have they given you any comments back?
oh, I didn't, no, I only submitted it to the UDC, I didn't submit it to the
Okay.
Park Service.
Well, then
But the
go
Park
f-
Service already had it, so.
Yeah, they already had it.
Okay.
And their comments kind of drive it anyway.
Well, I don't think that there's gonna be any problem at all. I think that that last meeting that we had really helped put things on the right
Right track.
step, in the right,
No,
right
the
direction.
emails that I got from the, what's his name, the new guy there,
Travis?
Travis, yeah.
Yeah,
He indicated he didn't think there was gonna be any problem.
I don't think so. I haven't, if there was, I would've heard about it.
Yeah.
So I think we're up. Good, thank you.
That answer your question? So it's soon.
Okay.
It's, we're getting down
Okay,
to the,
we're getting it.
but it'll be before, I mean, we won't adopt that before the next board meeting, which is the 20th.
No, you got a couple of meetings,
of
but
March.
you'll introduce it, if it gets ready, you'll just introduce it next month, you'd have a public hearing at the earliest would be April. So that it wouldn't be adopted
That's
before
right.
April, at the earliest.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Kara, you're up.
Yeah.
This is for everyone to look over, that's
Right, you're in
the
Calvin
draft
one.
waterfront revitalization
Oh, this is,
plan. The UDC midterm reports have been submitted. The assessor's map project was completed for the soil maps and topography. And the historical website is in process. I did get an email back from the UDC saying that they're not gonna reimburse us for anything until the entire project is completed. I handed out a copy of the draft waterfront revitalization plan. That just came to me today, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to review it. But there is a meeting next week on the 27th in the town of Highland, at 9 o'clock at the town hall, to review that draft plan. And that's people on the committee. So I'm on the committee that was funded through a grant. So if you have feedback, let me know, going through the plan. and I'll take those concerns to the committee. The Calhoun Business Association, again, is most likely gonna be submitting a Category C grant for Sullivan Renaissance. I don't know what that's for yet. Cindy and Kathy Langley and I are meeting next week to talk about a grant, and it's due March 31st. So a Category C grant is a multiple element project. So I don't know if there's anything you're thinking of as far as the retaining wall, you know, sprucing it up, or,
You mean, at the streetscape project we
Yeah.
just finished? Well, the only thing that I know that's kind of in the planning station is the railroad has indicated on 2 occasions that they wanted to come down with their engineer, and they're gonna be pulling up one of the tracks. I don't know, does anybody know whether they're using the west lane or the
It's
east
the one
lane?
closest to the river,
Is the one that's coming up?
yeah, west.
They're the one, is the one they use?
It's the one that's not shiny. It would be not the one that they
The
use.
eastbound lane is the one closest to Lower Main Street.
Okay, so that's the
And
one.
that's
they
the
come up.
oldest one.
That's what you're talking about. Well, yeah, they're talking about taking that up and then and putting a crossing, redoing the crossing. But, and included with that, it would be a sidewalk, a walkway.
I think they got a grant for that from the state, the railroad.
The railroad did?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
pretty
well,
sure.
well, They indicated to me that they wanted us to pay for the concrete. Which I'm not sure how much, I didn't say okay till I knew how much concrete. So, but they're supposed to be down here in the fall, and they, you know, the meeting got postponed, and here we are, you know, in the winter, and I suppose it'll be spring before we, that's the only thing that I know of.
Virginia has
Melanie, about that?
You know where the stone wall is, the retaining wall by the railroad station where the stairs used to go up from the street?
Yes.
And then they were patched and now that's all collapsing? Are we gonna do
You
anything?
mean down by the bridge?
No.
Across from the bridge?
Yeah, across from the bridge. You know, where that, all the stone, the
Mhm.
blue stone is all falling apart. Is anything gonna happen with that?
I don't know. I mean,
'Cause
that's,
I knew
mean,
originally
that's a
you guys
rare-
were talking about possibly doing repair there, tied in with the streetscape thing, and then that kind of fell apart with that whole budgetary thing.
Is that their land or our land?
it's theirs, it's railroad property.
Theirs. Are they gonna do anything about it? I mean, it's not a good thing.
You're talking about where they filled in where the steps used to be?
Right.
And it's
the
kinda
corner-
sagging like?
No, it's just falling out.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't looked at that in
Take a
ages.
look.
I'll have to go down and take a
Yeah,
look at that.
take
I
a
have-
look. It's
I've
not-
always-
Where are you talking about, Virginia?
Where
You know, we-
steps
The
used to
bridge
come
comes
down from the
right out
station.
to Main Street,
By the library.
and you hit the wall.
Yeah,
Well, there used to be a set of stairs
Yeah, across from
in
the-
that.
yeah, I remember
But they
that.
were filled in years ago.
Oh,
That
okay,
is,
okay, all right.
Well, if anybody thinks of anything, you know, that you think
Yeah,
is an area.
Can you help me, Kara? What, category C?
You have to do multi-elements, so you have to have a couple different things going on for a total of $5,000 for the grant. Reimbursed after you do it. But it puts you in a better running for, say, a Golden Feather grant, which we won 2 years ago for $20,000. You know, so you're in running for more money if you eventually win. So, I don't know really, I mean, they have different things that they, I mean, a lot of it is like gardens, planters, that kind of stuff. And the CBA also submitted a historical cultural grant to Sullivan County. They had a small grant available for reprinting of their historical walking tour and those Calhoun stickers, they say CAL, to promote tourism. So that's what's been happening. And I just wanted to mention, as far as the gas drilling committee, that we did, the last time we met was the 7th of January, and we had a speaker, an economist, come and speak, Jeanette Barth, and all of her stuff is on the website, if you want to look at it, all the handouts. I was gonna print them out, but then I realized it was hundreds of pages, so they're on the website.
This is the Jeanette Barth.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions, folks?
No.
All right, I don't see anybody from the Calico Creek Park Committee. Michael Chinicki's not here. Harold, you're up.
Okey-dokey. Here we go, gentlemen. Oh, let me ask one over to Tess, if you will.
Thank you.
This shows you the pinkish line is where we are, or where we were on the February 15th. Shows you that we're above the median, so we still have more water in the whole basin than we did a year ago, or the long-term median. We're down below what we had the year before. On that date, I think it was at 87.9% of the storage. Neversink was at 91.6, Papacton at 86.5, Cannonsville at 88.4, and of course Roundout, which doesn't flow into our system, was 81.6. So there's plenty of water out there, but it's not as bad, and we don't have that much snowpack, so if we don't get inundated with heavy snow, we should be okay. The UDC had it at its last monthly meeting, installed the new chair, vice chair, and treasurer for the council. As you know, Jeff Dexter is the new chairperson. He's from Damascus. So at the swearing-in ceremony, they had a Pennsylvania state senator who she was there to swear the people in. It was very nice. It was a good meeting, went along fast. There will be a meeting coming up. I think it's very shortly. Maybe it's next Tuesday. Yeah, I think it is. There's going to be some people who know a lot about flows and the water situation, and they're going to talk about the stress, thermal stress on the river, in case anyone's interested in learning about the stress that the river goes through. And other than that, we are going to have our annual...
Can I interject? Actually, sorry, that meeting, I think, talking about at the Upper Delaware Council, that happened last night. And there, sorry, and there is footage of it. I've recorded it.
Good. Well, then we can see it on YouTube
Yep,
and
it'll
all
be-
the other places. And you don't have to go to the meeting. You can just sit at home and have a cup of coffee. Thank you for the correction. Appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Next week, that's right, next week we have our project review and meeting. Other than that, oh yeah, I was going to tell you, in April, I think it's the last Sunday in April, in fact, the UDC has its annual banquet. And that's going to be, I believe, at the Lackawaxen House. Hopefully it'll be a nice sunny day, and we'll be able to be out on that deck.
And we're all invited?
Oh, yeah, sure, just bring your money. And that's all, there's nothing big today. Thank you.
I just wanted to also say, and I didn't get a chance to tell you, how I received today in the mail the Upper Delaware, no, not the Upper Delaware, the Delaware River Basin Commission Annual Report.
Oh, really?
And next time you stop by. take a
Okay.
look at it. And I only got one copy, and so if you,
There might be one down at the thing. Carol Collier was at the last meeting we had to just give updates and reports on that, too.
yeah,
So
you're welcome, it's very nicely done as far as.
Oh, that's quality
It's a very-
stuff
yeah,
when
it's
they
a-
do it, yes.
I'm up next. I don't have a lot. Again, I want to remind everybody about the public meeting regarding a reassessment project. We have a lot of stuff on our agenda tonight, so I'd like to go right to the discussion on the road preservation law, commonly referred to as the MMTF. We've had a public hearing. We've actually had several hearings on this. And the most recent, we had tabled, we kind of tabled decision until we had that meeting at the firehouse where we had people from Delta Engineering down for questions and answers but they also made a presentation. Since then, I've talked with other towns. Right now, Tustin has passed it, Coshecton has passed it, Callicoon has passed it, so our neighbors have all passed it, and I think we should move on it. Just for the people that were not at the meeting at the firehouse, the biggest concern with the new law was the easel count. The easel count is an engineering term that they use for, they calculate the axle weight, the number of trucks, the size trucks, and the axle weight on the trucks. And there was a lot of folks that were concerned about the easel minimum, or the easel count of 50. The law, and anybody wants to see it, I brought it here. And I've talked individually to the board about this. The 50 easel count was only for the spring, when the roads are the softest, when the most damage can be done to the roads. As an example of the difference, the swing, in the winter, which is December 21st to March 15th, it jumps to 400. Summer is 200, and fall is 100. So it's my recommendation that we move on this law, and as presented. And if you remember, we were talking about maybe adjusting the easel. I think it's important that we be consistent with our neighbors. I mean, and I'll use the example of Kratz Road as an example, because that's a road that we share with the town of Callicoon. And if we had one law on one side, and there was another with different easel weights and different on the other, I think it'd be insanity myself to try to.
Interesting permit plan.
Yeah. So that being said, I think again that was the largest concern voiced at the last meeting, and I'd like to move on it, but I'd like to entertain it, unless any more conversation.
Well, I think it's very important for us to make sure that when this is instituted, that the people who work locally here aren't impeded in their business, but at the same time, anybody who runs a whole bunch of trucks over the road and eventually ends up harming that road, well, the public has to pay for it. But that shouldn't be. If they're using much more than would be normal, then it should fall on them. And I think that's one of the reasons we have this law, or we're entertaining this law here. Even though that we have a easel distribution according to weather and time of year, I think it's something that as we get into this, we can, if you use the word tweak or change as necessary. We haven't had any experience in easel weights here. So this is something that, even though it'll be a law to protect our roads, at the same time, it'll be very necessary for us to make sure that they're not damaged and the people in this town end up with a bill. So we have to kind of weigh this very carefully as to where we put the parameters. And I think we have the ability to change it if we have to. Do we not?
Yeah, it's adjustable.
It's not put in stone. It's all on paper.
My question would be, how does this affect, well, two places really. Matt Hofer up here, which runs a logging operation, he's got quite a few trucks in the road, and the other one, it's over in Bethel, but I'm sure he uses our roads a lot, is Bry's Chicken Farm.
Well, it doesn't affect them at all, Al. It's remember, what's the trigger for this thing is a project. A construction project is what triggers it.
In other words, the easel,
the easel weight,
the easel limits that we have now will not apply to them that are
well,
in business.
it doesn't apply to them because it's not a project as defined in the law.
Okay.
And it's also a function of the number of the trips, and neither of those businesses, in my opinion, would be affected.
What's, again, when we get when Crystal Run comes and builds a big complex up on up on Kratz Road, I mean, we have to be.
Oh,
I mean, that's what triggers it, though. And
Yeah.
the developer is responsible. It's not the subcontractor or the contractor, it's the developer. It's, so that would be affected.
Yeah. I'm kind of betwixt and between on it because, well, I just don't like any more rules and regulations than we have here. And oh my God, what we're creating for ourselves here. But I don't care if you drive a moped or a 6-axle truck. If the owner of that truck is licensed, has registration, has insurance, pays all his fees, meets safety requirements, and the fees a trucker pays today, my God, just to put a truck on the road, I talked to some of them, and it's $8,000 and up, just to license and put a truck on the road, and he's not made a dime yet.
But this doesn't really affect him, Alex. This is only for the project, the guy.
As a building.
The guy that's got the project going. And the whole theory, again, is if you break it, you should fix it. You shouldn't ask the rest of the town to fix it.
I can, I'm cognizant of that.
We went down that road once. Cost the highway department $80,000.
Yeah, where was this now, Bill?
Right down there in the top of the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cost
okay.
the highway department,
Yeah.
not overall.
Yeah.
My budget,
Yeah.
$80,000.
Yeah.
And had that been in place,
That would have
we'd have been
Yeah.
80,000 to the good,
And-
with a better road.
That was a hell of a mess.
And this
With a
is
better
kind of
road.
above the town level, but the fees that a trucker pays goes into the state general fund. And a lot of those fees have already paid, as I've understand it talking to some people, that's part of the fees where our CHIPS program comes into. So they've, on the other side of the thing, they've already partially paid for this.
They partially do, but you don't know where the money went after it left their hands. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
that's,
You know
that's,
what I mean?
well, this is what I'm saying.
And you end up holding the back, so the best thing that the town could do to protect the highway department from ever
Right.
spending $80,000 again is take that ball right there and say yes,
Yeah.
really honest to God.
Yeah,
Because
so
the highway
I-
department is the one who has to pay.
Right. But,
My budget could never stand a mile of road being destroyed by someone, never.
granted, so it's, for me, it's kind of betwixt and between. I'm inclined to go for it. As long as some of our local truckers aren't hit by this.
Well, it's certainly not intended to even apply to local truckers. It's the big developer
Yeah.
that comes in. Yes, it may be an extra permit or an extra process that the developer has to go through, but if he breaks it, he should fix it.
Yeah, no argument there.
That's really what it's about.
It's just a form of accountability, that's
Yeah.
all it is.
But you see where I'm trying to balance it out, on the other side of the coin.
But at the same token, if you don't have a law in place, and you think this trucker, or whoever it might be,
Right.
just because he paid registration and taxes and stuff, doesn't mean he has enough money in his pocket.
Right, yeah.
To fix the road after he destroyed it, so you have to protect yourself, because he's not gonna.
Right, yeah.
That's
No,
the way
no,
it goes.
no,
He's not gonna protect you.
no, point well
You gotta
taken.
put a bond up.
Yeah.
There are provisions in the law for that.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion by somebody.
Well, I
Remember, we've kicked this around now for
So moved.
some time,
I'll move on.
and by that, the development of this has been, it was started long before I'm Johnny come lately here, before I was involved. I mean, it was 2 years before I became a councilman, and I was a councilman for a year before,
Yeah.
so I think it's close to 4 years.
It's at least 4.
At least 4 years.
Yeah.
You make a motion, I'll second it.
I made the motion.
Oh, John made a motion to adopt
I'll
this,
second.
and Al seconded it. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll go along as long as we can tweak it, if necessary, so.
You can always amend the law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Say again?
I said, you can always amend the law.
that one, so.
Okay, earlier this evening, we had a public hearing to increase the membership on our Board of Assessment Review. I would entertain a motion to adopt that law.
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Cindy
I'll
moves
second
it,
it.
and Harold seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll go right down to new business here, which I'd like to appoint David Knutson. He's not here tonight, is he? And Vincent Aluconis. Okay, I'm sorry, Vincent. As the two additional members.
Also move if you need that.
Second.
Harold moves and John seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is the, I got a lot of paperwork here tonight, folks, so bear with me. We have a resolution to adopt the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. And this has been around, again, longer than I have, but it has not been adopted. And it's for the entire county, and the town of Delaware, if you guys, have you got a copy of
I
this
got a
thing?
copy, yeah.
If you go to page, it says 181, but it's like, looks like about 7 or 8 pages in.
Speed read.
You'll see that the mitigation actions that we're concerned about, and this is, again, been around longer than I have. It's the area where County Route 164 and County Road 52 come together. They call that Main Street and Beechwoods Road. I don't know if I agree with that, but I guess it is for Main Street for Coletown.
Sal's Pizzeria.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and it shows, it also, checks flood, ice jam, severe storms, and winter storm. That's where that project came from. About
We've seen all of the above.
yeah, about a year ago, this mitigation plan is where that study came from, that they had a public hearing. I'm not sure who went. The county put it on, and yeah, I know I did too. And where was that, at the school? Where was it?
No,
at the government center.
At the government
Oh, that's right, it
center.
was at the government center.
Legislators' room.
Yeah, and where, that particular project's been engineered, and they're waiting to try to, they're looking for money to finish that. And it's approximately $1 million job. It would go a long way with helping the flooding in Coletown. Sorely needed. The other places that initiate coordination with railroad owners to regularly assess conditions of railroad infrastructure. And one of the areas that they talk about is hazardous material, and of course, a transportation accident. They're talking about a train wreck there. And their plan wants to identify those places. I imagine River Road might be one of them places.
Yeah, right along there.
Yeah, that's something we, it's been there a long time, but little by little comes down. And then it says implement flood mitigation measures, resize culverts, complete stream assessments in the Coletown area to alleviate flooding issues and impacts to residents, businesses, and infrastructure.
Sorely needed.
Yep, all of the above. So, what this, we were asked to adopt this. Not all the towns have done so. I guess some of them have and some of them haven't. We're being asked to adopt it, and I would like to see us adopt the mitigation plan, so.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, John and Cindy, And all those in favor?
Aye.
And does that say County Road 164 or Beechwood Road?
It says
It
both.
says
It
both.
says both. It
says
says County Road 164 and County Road 52.
But because Beechwood Road is a separate road on its own.
Main Street on Beechwoods Road is the first, and that's
Beechwood
here.
Road was before
Oh, I
the
see.
911
That's right
address
here.
thing. You know, where they
Oh, I see. So that's two
actually
different
numbered the road.
locations.
This here is Beechwood Road here, it goes up over the hill.
Right.
Right.
164 goes up the other side of the hill.
Right. But does Beechwood Road converge up at Keeler's Corners?
No, Kratz's.
Yeah.
Kratz's, yeah, well, I used
Road,
to call
yeah.
it Keeler's.
Right.
Is that,
I call it Dago Corners.
yeah.
What is this down here?
Down back from the city there.
Yeah.
What is the mitigation needed down here?
But is that considered Beechwood's Road going
It
forward?
says flood. You know what it says? I'm not sure about that
Well, it doesn't
location.
say up there.
It goes around by Kratz's.
Huh?
Unless it's coming down from the hill in the back?
Just like,
Yes, okay, that's what they mean. Oh, that's what, because down here, right down in that corner doesn't flood.
Right.
But it's back here. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. I would
Okay.
move
yeah.
on.
All right, next,
Or did we do that?
yeah, we already did.
Done deal.
It'd be nice if they could get some of that fixed. I mean, Kohlertown is practically raped with flood when it happens.
Oh, terrible. And it doesn't take a whole lot of water,
No,
Less and
a whole
less.
lot of water to
Yep.
put them in
the watershed
bad
is so
shape.
big,
Oh, yeah.
it's huge.
Well, there's no drainage.
Yeah.
It's all collapsed, rotted out,
Yeah.
and the pipes are closed. And there's no place for the water to go, right down
We fixed that
52.
last- We fixed their last job they did over there, when they put the pipe under 52.
Oh.
We fixed that for them.
Yeah, they only did half a job there, I think.
They put a pipe in, I think it's 36 inches in diameter underneath 52. And then it's the piece that comes out from Kevin Graham's across Scotterfield's
Yeah.
old place, down to that was 15 inches. So it was so rotten, they took a piece of 8 inch, it's in the back of my truck, a piece of 8-inch corrugated plastic pipe, and they just stuck it in there. And they figured they were gonna take 18 inches of water and put it in an 8-inch hole, but it didn't work. Kevin Graham kept getting water in his cellar. I couldn't figure out, how could you have water in your cellar if that pipe's 3 times bigger than the one that was there? But when they put this big pipe in there, instead of putting a 2-foot in, they put a 3-foot in, so now you're a foot closer to the water level in the brook.
On the
So
bottom.
when
Yeah.
the brook comes up a foot more of it'll go back that way. They really gotta get engineers instead of idiots.
I think the way to clear the creeks out is with a big long Bangalore torpedo.
Really.
I'm sure they'll do.
Are you getting all of this?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure.
There is no gray area.
Move along, Ed.
Isaac,
All
you're
right.
shaking.
The next item we have is the introduction of local law number 2, which we have to move the grievance day, which ordinarily would be, this year would be the 4th Tuesday in May. Renee, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And we have to change that to the first Thursday following the 4th Tuesday, because Renee can't be in 2 places at once yet. We're working on that. But in order to make that change, we need to have, it has to be a local law. So, which I was surprised, I thought we could just do it, but we can't. I would, and that's the substance and the whole of it, as far as I know.
That's all of it.
That's all of it.
That's all.
So,
Also move.
now we have,
Let's
Now-
move it and get it over
Well,
with.
you're gonna introduce it.
yeah, but we
schedule a
said the
public
same thing,
hearing.
I have to, it's the same thing,
okay.
we have to schedule a public hearing.
All right.
And what I would like to do is to have the public hearing before our next meeting, which is the 20th of March, is that correct? Yeah. So, we introduced it, and we'd like to set that public hearing for 3/20/13 at 6:55 PM.
So do we have a motion to introduce?
Yeah, can I get a motion?
I'll,
He already moved, and I
Okay.
seconded
And
it.
John seconded. Yeah, well,
what's the date?
that's why we make the
They're
big
moving
bucks.
too fast. Yeah, right, that's it.
You said 3.
What was the date?
3/20,
Yeah.
3/20, right. And then,
So like we did tonight.
exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
3:20.
March calendar.
At
is the same as
6:55.
Right.
Okay.
February calendar.
The next item on our agenda is a resolution opposing Governor Cuomo's proposal to prevent plea bargaining of traffic infractions.
I think that should be explained to the public what's going on there.
Maybe I should read it's less than a full page, maybe I should read this, the resolution. Whereas approximately 3 years ago, the New York State Police declared a policy that its troopers were no longer authorized to negotiate plea bargains on traffic tickets they issued. And whereas the Sullivan County District Attorney's Office, which has limited personnel and resources, was unable and unwilling to take over complete prosecution power over the handling of routine traffic violations. And it granted all towns within Sullivan County the authority to allow town attorneys to prosecute traffic tickets at the town's expense. And whereas the town of Delaware, in direct response to the mandates of New York State Police and Sullivan County District Attorney, allocated money from an already overburdened budget and hired a town prosecutor specifically for dealing with traffic tickets at its own expense. And whereas the governor of the state of New York, in his executive budget, is proposing to advance legislation which will restrict plea bargaining in vehicle and traffic infractions except in limited circumstances documented by the court. And whereas prosecution of traffic tickets has been an important revenue stream for the town and has been accounted for in the town's 2013 budget. And should there be a change in plea bargaining requirements, the town would potentially lose this revenue stream and would cause an increase in legal expense, which would essentially make this another unfunded state mandate. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Delaware Town Board strongly opposes any change in the law which restricts or otherwise hampers the prosecutorial powers provided to the town attorney by the Sullivan County District Attorney. And be it further resolved that any restrictions placed by New York State on the ability to plea bargain routine traffic tickets would place an unfair burden on the town as prosecuting agent by not only restricting the prosecutorial discretion of the town attorneys to accomplish just and fair results, but will require greater time requirements at additional significant expense to the town. Further, it will place an unfair burden on the New York State Police and Town Justice Court. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be provided to Senator Bonasek and Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther to express the town's adamant opposition to any changes in the law regarding plea bargaining of minor traffic tickets, infractions. Wow.
I didn't write that, Brian.
So I don't know if anybody has any comment. Do you want to talk about it?
No,
or-
I mean, it is self-explanatory, you know, and it's true, it effectively imposes an unfunded mandate on us if my hands as the town prosecutor are tied, and I have no discretion in terms of, you know, what disposition to recommend to the court on a plea bargain.
You know, and recognize it is a resolution. It may not mean anything.
But if they impose, and, you know, I don't know where the state would draw the line yet, but it could in effect shift revenue away from the town and back to the state of New York.
That's right.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
That's the whole object of the exercise.
Or it will be further wasted.
The object of the game.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Al moved it and
I'll second.
Harold seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're next, we have a resolution in support of the Second Amendment. And
Can I read that one too?
I don't know. I will if you want me to. I
have
guess
copies if you don't.
everybody, yeah, you have copies with you?
Handful
prepared.
What's your pleasure? You want me to read it, or?
Well, for the public's, thinking.
So they can hear it.
Have that as
Okay,
Shakespeare.
boss. All right.
They're torturing you, Ed. This is on purpose.
You know, I have it. I
In
don't,
the
that's not the
beginning,
one. I gotta get the other one. You got the one? Mine was it. Yeah, this is.
I didn't like this one.
Okay, this is a resolution in support of the Second Amendment, of course. Town of Delaware resolution in support of the Second Amendment. Whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms is guaranteed as an individual right under the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of New York. And whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people of the town of Delaware, Sullivan County, New York. And whereas the Delaware Town Board derives economic benefit from all safe forms of firearm recreation, hunting and shooting conducted with Delaware residents using all types of firearms allowable under the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of New York. Whereas the town, whereas the Delaware Town Board being elected to represent the people of the town of Delaware and being duly sworn by their oath of office to support the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of New York. And whereas the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate being elected by the people of the State of New York and being duly sworn by their oath of office to support the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of New York. And whereas legislation passed by New York State Assembly and Senate infringes on the right to keep and bear arms and would ban the possession and use of firearms now employed by individual citizens of the town of Delaware for defense of life, liberty, and property, and would ban the possession of and use of firearms now employed for safe forms of firearm recreation, including hunting, shooting conducted within the town of Delaware, Sullivan County, New York. Whereas the Delaware Town Board believes there are many less intrusive means available other than rash, confusing, and inarticulately drafted firearms laws that would effectively control and manage violence in our society, such as mental health reforms, anti-bullying programs for schools, enforcement of existing firearms laws to the fullest extent possible, and proper psychological counseling for those in need of it or request it. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Delaware does hereby oppose the enactment of any legislation that would infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms and consider such laws to be unnecessary and beyond lawful legislative authority granted to our state representatives, as there is no documented correlation between gun control measures and crime reduction. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to President Barack Obama, Vice President Joseph Biden, Senator Charles Schumer, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, Congressman Chris Gibson, Governor Andrew Cuomo, Senator John Bonasek, Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther, and Sullivan County Legislature. Wow.
Nice job. Socrates is turn.
I make a motion to it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Al, second by Harold. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
I don't know how, this is, again, it's just a resolution, so.
Ed, there's just one thing that may be a typo in here, I couldn't catch it before they voted on it. At the beginning of the third paragraph, you seem to be saying the Delaware Town Board derives economic benefit from all safe forms of firearms, etc. Is that what you meant? That the town board is?
The Delaware Town Board derives economic benefit
Maybe
from
you should
all
say
the.
the town of
Town of
Delaware.
Delaware.
Economic benefit.
Yeah, the board doesn't derive any economic benefit.
Correction.
There it is on paper.
I'll correct
Okay,
that.
so the town of Delaware, okay.
All right.
Okay, that doesn't change anybody's,
No.
okay.
No.
All right, Now, and last on my list is the Verizon settlement. Fairly consistently and fairly often, the public utilities in our town object to their assessments and their taking actions, and we have one such action here tonight, and I don't know, Ken, if you have any comments regarding.
Well, they did challenge, and it's just one particular tax assessment parcel. They challenged it, the reduction that they requested was substantially greater than what the settled value is. They made a suggestion which Renee and Virginia reviewed and took into consideration and thought it was fair and reasonable under the circumstances, and that's why it's presented to you folks for approval. There are different ways that they value this sort of property. A lot of it's replacement cost, less depreciation, different formulas. One of the problems that we are confronted with at this level, the town levels, and it's not unique to Delaware, this is not only in Sullivan County, but probably throughout New York State, is we assess some of the utility property in the state of New York through the special franchise process. It assesses some of the utility property, and some of it is very similar property, by the way. And unfortunately, they have a great deal of success, the utilities, in establishing the values through the special franchise process, and then that number gets leveraged against us. And but the number that's being proposed here is actually a more favorable number than if it was done just purely on the number that the special franchise formula would result in. And I think it was also and was higher, certainly higher than what their internal calculations of their value less depreciation would be. So that's the rationale for the settlement. I don't have a reason to not recommend it, and the fact that your assessor and your assistant assessor is in favor of it, I think is probably good reason to go along and approve it. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to get into a very costly evaluation appraisal process, the result of which I can't guarantee the outcome, but I don't know that it would be more favorable than what the settlement is.
I make a motion that we.
Yeah, just before, okay, a motion on the floor. Just the assessment was $620 and it's being reduced to $496.
Yeah.
Where is this parcel in here?
Well, it's on 222 -1-9.
This is this one of the
You know
things
where
with
it
the
is?
state, with the state gets.
Yeah, it's poles and lines, but on
Yeah,
what tax
this is a
map, you
state
don't know.
thing that does it.
Well, no,
Negotiate.
this is the unique thing about utility price. Some of it is valued by the town, some of it is valued by the state. This happens to be one of the sections that are valued by the town. There's identical property, poles and wires, that we don't value, the state values, and we're stuck with the number they put on it.
So in other words, we just follow.
Well, I mean,
as
from
far
a
as I'm
practical-
fighting
No, Harold, really, if these same poles and wires were being valued by the state's process, the likelihood is that the assessed value would be lower than the number that you're settling on.
And if we didn't, from a practical perspective, if a reduction of $120,000, I don't know what that means to the town, about 1.5%, something like that. I doubt we could take it to court and.
No, by the
you know what I'm saying? It
time,
wouldn't-
I
wouldn't-
understand, I'm certainly understand that. I just want to make sure our assessors are on board with this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
No more questions.
You're comfortable with it?
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I made the motion to accept the
Assessment?
settlement.
Settlement, okay. Okay, and seconded by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I have nothing else. Wow. Kenny, you owe me money, I think.
Tooling right
Uh,
along.
I told you at 11:35 this morning that it wasn't happening.
What I'd like to do is get a resolution to accept the abstract, and then we'll go into public comment.
Yeah, I'll move to do that.
I'll second it.
And second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, now we come to the public comment part of our meeting.
I've got a couple of speakers here at
Right here.
Oh, yes, we do. Tom has been at this town board before. Welcome, Tom.
Good evening. I'm here to support your resolution on the New York State gun control law, but what I have to say about it is not going to please people on both sides of the issue. As a hunter and gun owner, and as someone who grew up with guns, I learned to respect them and use them responsibly, and I do not believe that we should be criminalized for the actions of crazy people. The New York State gun control law is wrong for the same reasons that this town board's resolution on gas fracking is wrong. It infringes on our basic rights. It was hastily passed without any consultation of responsible parties, especially the law enforcement community. It represents a knee-jerk reaction to please liberals who see gun control as a panacea for complex social problems. In the same way, the Rhoda resolution was hastily passed without any proper consultation. And it was wrapped in the rhetoric of property rights and undermines the property rights of most of us who will see our property values go down and our taxes go up to pay for the damage that the gas companies will not pay for. And I'm not talking about the roads, I'm talking about the crime, the drugs, the prostitution that will come along with the hordes of outside workers. So I support your resolution on the gun control law, and I oppose your resolution, the Rhoda resolution on fracking. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, Steve.
Thank you. My name's Steve Lundgren. I'm a resident of Hortonville, and I have two topics to address. First one is you're passing the road use law, and I've had said it before, and I'll say it again just for the record. I think that it's been passed a little bit in haste, and that I really honestly wish that you had taken a little bit more time to very, very carefully scrutinize it. I support the entire purpose of the road use agreement. I think it's great for trying to protect the interests of the taxpayers here, but I really think that it should have been given a little bit more careful consideration, and that you could perhaps tweak it, customize it to to make sure that the thing that I'm most concerned about is that I feel the administration of that law is going to increase the burden on everybody here, the town board members, town highway superintendent, the building code enforcement officer, and the clerks, and the town attorney, with a lot of new burdens, and capturing the cost of doing that, I'm not sure is guaranteed. And I think that ultimately the taxpayers will probably, if gas drilling and the massive industrial development comes here, that the taxpayers will end up paying more, and helping to subsidize the introduction of this new industry. But be that as it may, you've made your decision, and now you're going to ultimately end up having to live with it if you run into problems in the administration of the law. And I think that some of those problems could have been averted. But thank you, though, for giving it your consideration and your best shot. The other thing is, and this will take less time than it took you to read the resolution to support the Second Amendment. The way that this, your amendment in support of the second, or your resolution in support of the Second Amendment is being handled, illustrates to me a disturbing trend which has recently emerged in the way that this town board conducts its business. For the third time in less than a year, the members of this town board have submitted resolutions or letters purporting to represent the views of all of the residents of the town without actually having first consulted with the citizens or even worse, without having determined what the consensus opinion is in this town. Like last summer's controversial Roeder resolution and the Roeder-Sykes letter to Governor Cuomo, this resolution is almost word for word a copy of similar resolutions and letters written and circulated by special interests. In each case, it is certain that the anonymous authors were not people who were elected by the voters of the town of Delaware to represent them. I'm sure that you folks were not the people who, drafted this resolution. It's one that's been circulating town of Callicoon, other towns in the area here. I doubt that any of you would willingly allow your children to copy somebody else's homework and hand it in for credit. So please, stop being copycats that lead from behind. I encourage you instead not to cave in to peer pressure from other town boards and to follow instead the example of the New York State Sheriff's Association. First, find out what provisions of the new law are or are not acceptable to the citizens of the town of Delaware, and then draft your resolution. Why encourage yet another resolution that stands a good chance of creating a controversy and further polarizing the community? Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Did you guys get that New York State Sheriff's letter that I sent? Yeah. I mean, I found it was interesting because they seem to endorse part of it and then criticize other parts of it.
Yeah,
It's important.
it was well done, I thought.
I'd just like to say that we have a representative form of government here. You people were duly represented to represent the people, and I don't think that we need to, under the type of democracy we have, I don't think that we need to poll the community for their opinions on everything. You were elected to represent us by the people, and the people gave you the right to do that, and you did that, and I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Lady over here.
I'm appalled at what's happening. I cannot believe what you've just passed. I mean, what you're saying is that you are making a resolution supporting these guns, I don't know the exact terminology, automatic guns, that you pull the trigger once and you can shoot 20 people at once?
That's not so.
Well, I don't know. Tell me. Then tell
If
me.
you don't know, you shouldn't, that's the
Well-
problem. Most people don't know.
Well, you didn't use the words. You just said safe. All types of guns allowed by the Constitution. Okay, so you're saying that that our town benefits from these semi-automatic or military style guns. Is that correct? Is that what your resolution says?
No,
No, it's not exactly what it
no,
says. I mean,
you misread that.
you sure have.
You misunderstood it.
Can you enlighten me?
You want a copy of the resolution?
Give her a copy.
Can you just enlighten me about the types of guns that you're talking about? You said safe, that can be used safely. But that's.
All firearms
All
can
firearms
be used
can be used safely.
safely. It's no more than a hammer, it's a tool, used properly.
Right.
you
No
can't
more
do
than the
any
person
harm.
that stands
Okay.
behind it. The same as
But
you
they
driving
just-
down the road with your car.
I
You have a
understand.
3,000 to 4,000 pound projectile going down the road.
I'm
Am I
asking
right?
I'm asking the board to be specific about the type, you just said that you do not support the use of automatic
What the
weapons.
resolution says is that we think that the law was hastily drawn and it doesn't address the real problem. That's really what the resolution says. And I believe that, and I think our board believes it.
Yes.
And, the term, it's been thrown around here tonight a lot, hastily. There was nothing hastily about these resolutions. We've discussed them one-on-one. We haven't had any special meetings about them, but we've discussed them. Everybody's seen it's been on our website. It was discussed at length at the supervisors meeting. So I don't think the word haste is proper.
I didn't use that. I didn't say it.
These resolutions were thought of, but on the other side of that too, remember, these are resolutions, they're not laws. We're just saying this is what we think, okay? I mean, there's no we don't agree with the governor's law, that's all.
I do have one more comment, if I might make it. There was a reference in your resolution that says that there is no data correlating gun control with less crime. I would say that the number of people killed in Great Britain and in Australia, I think it's under 100 a year. They have very strict gun laws. I don't know what exactly those gun laws are,
It
but
was just brought up recently in England that the crime rate has gone up so bad that there's a big push to let people have their arms back.
Take a look at Chicago.
Big problems in England.
well, when you say crime is going up,
Well, I mean, it's just,
It-
I think it's an automatic
that's-
knee-jerk reaction. Talk about haste. I think the governor's law was done in haste. It really was preying on people's feelings because of a disaster that occurred in Connecticut. But again, these are just resolutions that we feel, that's the way we feel, telling the governor how we feel.
You know, there's one, can I just say something?
Sure.
It's something that I just found out today that really kind of shocked me. I didn't know this. If you look at what's happened recently, we've had people who maybe have had some kind of problems and have committed these horrendous crimes. And they say, well, we should register every firearm that comes down the road. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. We can argue that back and forth. But the word is out there that we want to make this thing universal, so everybody has to do this. But there's one big fallacy, if this thing is true, and I didn't know that until I got it yesterday. Haynes versus the United States of America. Supreme Court, 1968. Decision. Haynes, a convicted felon, was convicted unlawfully possessing an unregistered short-barreled shotgun. He argued that for a convicted felon to register a gun was effectively an announcement to the government that he was breaking the law, and that the registration violated his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination. The court agreed by an 8-1 decision, concluding, we hold that a proper claim of the constitutional privilege against self-incrimination provides a full defense to prosecutions either for failure to register a firearm or for possession of an unregistered firearm. So what they're saying is a person who is a criminal, if he goes to register his firearms, he is violating his right to the Fifth Amendment, which says to me the only ones that are going to register, who could register, are honest, law-abiding citizens. This is screwy, but that's where it is. And I just wanted to bring that up because I almost fell off the chair when I read it. Amen.
I'd
End of
like to
story.
make a couple comments here too. I don't think our resolution goes far enough.
Don't go there. I love it.
I think our governor and the people who voted for these anti-gun laws should be held in contempt of the Constitution and tried for treason.
Agreed.
Now, little background for me. I'm probably the only one in this room who is first generation born in this country. My parents are from Munich, Germany. And my parents had told stories of Hitler rabble-rousing in the beer halls and lining people up and shooting them down.
with automatic weapons.
Doesn't matter what they were. And Hitler started registering guns. With registration comes confiscation, and with confiscation comes tyranny. The purpose of the Second Amendment was to prevent government tyranny. Plain and simple. Now, people say the press, not you, Dan, but you cover us good. But basically, the liberal press who pushes for this. I'd like to see a proposal to treat the First Amendment like we do the Second. And by that, I would say all journalists, reporters, their assistants, cameramen, be licensed just like pistol permit holders here in New York State. Have them fill out the paperwork, get fingerprinted, get a background check, pay the fees, take an approved class in ethics journalism, and go before a judge just like I had to do to get a pistol permit in New York State. Let's have all typewriters, cameras, computers, broadcasting equipment, printing presses be registered by make, model, and serial number, and have those on your license and amended just like I had to do when I got my pistol permit. And then let's say have a 10-day waiting period from the time a reporter submits a story to go before a review board and ascertain that the article is factually correct and complete without bias before that article is approved for publication on the air and goes to press.
Damn, you stopped writing.
And
I realize I'm gonna have to turn my notebook in, so.
And we're being limited to 7 rounds in a magazine now, correct? Now, let's have the memory chip in that camera have no more than 7 megabytes. And if it's more than 7 megabytes, make sure that chip or disk is being sold out of state, turned in, or destroyed, like my magazine for over 7 rounds.
Everyone is laughing, but it's so pathetic.
No, I
Your
agree.
method of thinking is so skewed.
Well,
it is so
now,
illogical and
you
perverse.
see how you feel about the First Amendment? That's how I
I
feel
come from
about my infringement of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
What part of the Second Amendment do you not understand that shall not be infringed?
The freedom of the press was stated in the First Amendment. Okay, we can all
Exactly.
agree with that. The Second Amendment says that we are allowed to have weapons, though that was meant muskets. Here you can all allow, well, wait a minute, and establish a militia, and,
For tyranny, right?
but, yes,
Okay.
You're
but
absolutely
my question is only, I understand what you're saying, I do. It's just when I see all of these children lying there, and he can pull the trigger once and shoot 6 of them, and they say they couldn't even identify those kids. Now, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. Why do we need those weapons that can kill 6, 15, 20 at one time, in 1 second?
It could be a bomb they use the
can make
next
a bomb
time.
on
It
the
might not even be a gun that they
You're
use.
not answering
Could be
my
a vehicle,
question.
could be a vehicle you
Not
could drive.
answering my question.
Could be
It's not the gun, you
Now-
don't get the point, it's not the gun.
Look at
It's-
this
It
picture.
is a gun.
It is
Just
not
look
the
at
gun,
this
it's the
picture.
person that's holding it.
These are the last 3 people who committed these crimes. Look at them. Do you think we have a gun control problem? We don't. Look at these people.
What's your point?
They're nuts.
My point.
They're all head cases. That's the point.
I'm going to end with a
You
one.
can't tell a nut from
I'm
a
going to end with one quote, and then I'm out of here. This is a direct quote. This is in English. This year will go down in history. For the first time, a civilized nation has full gun control. Our streets will be safer, our police more efficient. The world will follow our lead into the future. 1935, Adolf Hitler on the Weapons Act of Nazi Germany.
If you went to school,
And it was written with a pen, is exactly right.
And I'd like to address her question about the muskets. Then let's have all the journalists go back to using quill pens or printing press.
I see that our reporter from the Democrat, he's What is it? Could you hold up what you've got in your hand, please, Dan?
Put me in the middle of all this.
He's only documenting what's going on.
I'm not here to take a
Ma'am,
position.
you're correct. For the time of 1776. The people of those days had the same
Weapon is
weapon as the military. Today, we should be entitled to the same weapons as the military,
We're not.
but we're not. We're being denied it.
After they take their second amendment.
I think we go for it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, we're not, again, this is only a resolution. It's about how we feel. It's not, and any comment on anything else tonight?
First tonight.
Is that Buck? I didn't recognize you without your hat, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about gun control or whether journalists should be whatever. But I was late. I don't know. Did you talk about what happened with the UDC in your reports at all? With the
It's on film.
You mean
the meeting you had down at
our zoning changes?
the meeting you had down there?
Yeah.
You talked about that?
Actually, we talked about that last month.
Yeah, we talked about last month, and we reviewed it again because it's been.
But we talked, what we did, again.
I just wanted to, because I did hear about it after the fact. I think it was really fantastic that the town, I mean, the word I got from the UDC was it was a very rare and maybe a first time that a community, a town had gone to the UDC and worked with them to try to clarify what there was obviously a misunderstanding, so I really thought it was fantastic that there were 4 or 5 or 6 people from the planning board and the town board who went down and met with the Park Service and with UDC to work out and make this understanding about that zoning change. I will say I don't know where that's at now. I'm still going to come back. I'm not happy with the compressor station language that's in there outside of that district. I think that will still come back before the town, right? That amendment is still.
The next step is we're gonna have a public hearing.
Okay, so that.
Assuming that UDC approves what's down there, then it's gonna come to us.
The UDC is reviewing the changes on the 28th. Their committee is reviewing the changes. Once they approve them, then the town board will schedule a public hearing on those changes.
Yeah.
And at that time, you'll be able to voice your.
Right, so I'll save that for then, the comments on the compressor stations, but I appreciate that the town took that step and the planning board did to get that worked out directly with them.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain
An evacuation order.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Cindy makes it. Any second?
I'll second.
I'll second. All those in favor?